I'll show you how to build this beautiful cutting board using scrap wood, and also I'll show you how to treat it so it will last a lifetime, just like I'm doing right here. I've applied mineral oil and I used a conditioner, butcher's block conditioner, to extend the life of the cutting board. It always seems that I've got too many scraps in the shop. So I decided I would go ahead and make a cutting board out of some of these hardwood scraps that I have and see what I could come up with. I've got some lights and dark colors, and I think that we'll be able to come up with something that has really good contrast and work well together. You can see me here trying to divide up all the different boards that I have and see which ones match and which ones don't. And I'm cutting the size as I go. This will be a edge grain cutting board. At least that's what it was supposed to be when it started out, but I have a mix of grains for the finish. I have edge grained and face grain, which doesn't really matter to me because it's just going to be abused with a very sharp knife, or even dull knives for that matter of fact. Well, you can see here I'm starting to get a picture of what I'm going to get. It helps to line them all up and to see what you've got and what the potential of the wood will be for the cutting board. Now I've got all the boards selected, and I'll lay out some plastic, then my clamps, and apply the boards to the clamp. Oops, I found one that wasn't quite suitable. I'll have to replace that one. I like to try to get at least one edge lined up so it's not so much waste. I think that in the future, I think I'll use somewhat longer boards as long as I can, so I can have at least 2 or 3 inches on either end for waste, in case once they go to the planer, there's enough to cut off the snipe. Here I'm gluing up the pieces, and I'm using a goat hair's brush, which seems to work really well. I'll use this in the future too. Now I've got it all clamped up. I've got clamps on the bottom and the top to keep. Now that it's dry, I have to remove the excess dried glue on the top of the cutting board and the bottom as well. I'm using a wide putty knife that I put sort of an edge on so that it would be more aggressive and scrape better. It's over to the crosscut sled to remove the excess from the ends. Next, we go over to the planer. I'm sending a board through and a board after to try to prevent as much snipe as possible. This helped out a little bit, but I think I actually need the same width of board as the cutting board to use in front and back. It just doesn't seem like I can get away from the snipe that this planer produces. As you can see, I put a board in the bed so that it would be flat all the way across, the cutting area, and that seemed to work somewhat, but not as well as I'd like. And a quick sand after the planer This won't be the final sand. This is just a quick sand to kind of blend things out, get rid of a little bit of glue that's left and some of the imperfections. I had to fill a few little knot spots and that kind of thing. Now we're going to get ready to cut the juice groove, or the blood groove they call it as well. Now I'm going to use a centered template to do mine. There's other ways that you can do it. There's the outer templates that you could place around the board and use that for a fence for the router. But I'm going to use the inner fence method by using this template. Now I cut the board to the appropriate size so that I would get the juice groove in the right spot. And I wanted it probably about 3/4 of an inch from the edge all the way around. Now all I have to do now is keep pressure on the edge of the template while lowering the bit, and just follow the template around, even on the corners. Try to keep pressure on the corner and follow the edge of the template. It wasn't too bad. I did get some burning from this, but I think that's with most routers and whatever method you're using, you're going to get some burning. Now I switched the plate on my router to the round plate. If you use the square plate, I believe you could get more of a sharper corner. It's not going to be a point on the corner of the juice groove, but you'll have a sharper squared corner. Now I made one pass, and here's my second pass. This is going to be more of a cleanup pass. I'll make sure that the plate of the router is laying flat as possible, as to clean up any area that was missed on the first pass, and possibly take out some of the burn areas that we have. I like this method. It's pretty simple. And this is probably going to be the standard size cutting board that I'll make, because I have a limitation with my planer. And then we routed the groove, or the handles for the ends to make it easy to pick up. And after routing, now I'm going to use a chisel to clean up all the excess. As you can see, I have a walnut board which is resting on the line, so I can get a nice flat cut with the chisel. It's got something to rest against so that I can get a nice clean cut, and it'll match up to the line that I have striped on the board. Now this isn't a perfect method, but it does pretty good, I think. It takes a little time with the chisel, but it's well worth it. It does a pretty decent job. Now I could have gone with the rounded corners from the router and not have to worry about this, but I just decided to chisel out the excess and make it squared in the corners. You can see it matches up pretty good with that edge of the walnut board that I have clamped on top. This chisel isn't anything fancy. This is a Stanley chisel. I believe that they call it the Fat Max. Now I'm going back to the router, and I've got a chamfer bit in the router now, and I'm just laying a small chamfer around the whole entire perimeter of this board, inside the handle, on the outer, top, and bottom. I think that makes it Makes it look really nice, and it gives it a good finished look. Now here's more of the sanding. I won't bore you with all of it. This is just a little snapshot of the sanding that I had to do. But I was trying to work on the juice screw and try to remove some of the burns again. And now I'm wetting down the board to raise the grain. This makes the grain pop up after you sand it, and then you sand it again after the water dries. And you can do this a couple of times depending on how smooth you want the board to be. I just did it one time for this board, and I think that was plenty. Just raise the grain one time just by adding water, let it dry, and sand. And I believe I went with, well, I started with 80 in the earlier stage, and then 150, and I think I finished up with some 220. Now we're going to add some mineral oil. This brand is not a sponsor. I bought my own mineral oil with my own money, as well as the cutting board conditioner that I'll use after I use this mineral oil. But I soaked the board pretty good with this mineral oil, and I did it actually twice. I put a coat on, let it dry, and then I did another coat and let that dry as well. Now we're going to go with the cutting board conditioner. Now this is a little heavier gel-like liquid, and they say apply it with a rag. So I put a little on the board and use a, I think, terry cloth rag to work it around into the board, and you can see it's starting to get a little sheen to it. It's kind of shining up a little bit, and it looks really nice. I think it's making the wood pop. But I think it's going to be a good finish to protect the board, and along with the mineral oil that's soaked into the board. Imagine it's soaked down into the board at least a 1/16 of an inch, maybe more. And then to finish it off with this wax is a good sealer, protector. And I mean, it's not the end of the process for a cutting board. You'll have to recondition it periodically over time as needed, because you'll be washing it and that type of thing. But I do all sides. I do ends, edges, and faces of this cutting board to make sure it's sealed very good. And even the bottom looks nice, I think. If they wanted to, they could flip it over. I don't have feet for this yet. I mean, I typically put feet on the bottom of my cutting boards, the rubber feet. But I was out of them. I haven't ordered any in a while. But that'll be an option. I may do it, I may not. But here's the finished board, and I think it looks fantastic. What do you guys think? Put your comments down below. I'd like to hear from you. If you're not a subscriber, please subscribe to the channel. Hit the like button as well, and hit the bell notification for future videos. I would love to have you on as a subscriber to the Woodshop Stop. Thanks again. Till the next time. Peace out.